Nani used to be like that, you're spending too much on their education, there's no need. And that's the culture in Pakistan, Karachi specifically, I mean, in Eastern society, that you don't need to spend too much. You can get an average school or an average college or an average university for the girls, because at the end they have to get married, they have to leave the home. I got admission into one of the best departments of Karachi University, which is DPA, Department of Public Administration. At the end of the interview, the conversation, he said, what is that one thing that you always wanted to do that wasn't that good as मेरी expectations के हिसाब से ना. I always thought यार marketing पढ़नी है तो किसी ज़बरदस्त teacher से. I said I'll be doing any task you want me to do. I got first position in bachelor's, but I was unable to get a job till 6 months. Studied from these best teachers, which were from IBA. This was this 4-month course for which they charged around 35,000 for us, which was too much.
Maham, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for calling me.
Yes. So Maham is the founder and CEO of the Hustle Stories.
Chief Everything Officer.
That's amazing. And like I said, thank you for joining us today. And I'm very excited to dig deeper in your journey and the amazing work that you have been doing for over 2 years now at this stage with the Hustle Stories. And as you mentioned just before we started, that the small beginnings, small starts, small wins that we got to celebrate, which you were sharing with your audience on LinkedIn yesterday, about the dollar monetization on your YouTube channel for your Hustle Story.
It's hardly $85. Hardly $85 in a year. Yeah.
$85 in a year. And do you think this is ever going to go beyond that?
No, I will make it happen. I'm sure once we are able to, get a lot of audience, this will change for sure.
Yes. It's the consistency, it's the persistence.
Absolutely.
Okay. And you know what, Maham? I would love for you to take us through your journey from the very beginning, because the work that you're doing, the example that you're setting, it's just phenomenal. Okay. And especially because when we were having a discussion the other day at your offices, right? I was just literally in an awe. Because if somebody says that how to be resourceful, I would say, listen to Maham's story, right? How do you come over the obstacles? I would say, listen to Maham's story. So take us through your
Thank you so much.
Beginning. And,
First of all, thank you so much for giving me the confidence, because I was thinking, a lot of people reached out to me that I should appear on a podcast. First of all, sitting on the other side, I used to think that there's no pressure on the other side. The host has all the pressure. But no, of course, there's certain pressure because, you're being recorded. But I never wanted to appear on a podcast because I think it's just 2 years, I haven't achieved much. But the day you told me, no, you got to share the story, because there are a lot of people who might learn from these 2 years. So I thought, why not? And starting from where should I start? Like from the education?
From the very beginning, actually, because you see that the actual upbringing of an individual, of a human, starts from right bang when they come into the world, right? So how was it when you came into the world? What was the family like? And what were the supporting elements? Who were the heroes behind your hero's journey? I would love to hear that from the very beginning.
So I am a typical Karachiite, born and raised in Karachi. And so I studied from Civil Aviation Authority, which was my school, primary school and secondary school, CA 3 and 4. And then I studied from PCHS, which is a government college. So I belong to middle class family, and colleges were very expensive. Schools weren't that expensive for us. Even then there was a lot of discussion in the family, because girls are not that much, getting the education. They get married after 16 or 18, or max they touch 20 in their bachelor life. So my father was like, no, I'll make both of my girls study. Jitna उन्हें पढ़ना है उतना, and there's no barrier for them. So my grandmother, like Nani and Dadi, both were like, so Dadi passed away in 2003, but Nani used to be like that, you're spending too much on their education, there's no need. And that's the culture in Pakistan, Karachi specifically, in Eastern society, that you don't need to spend too much. You can get an average school or an average college or an average university for the girls, because at the end they have to get married, they have to leave the home, they're not earning or serving the family in that way, like financially. So why are you spending too much on the education? education, and my father has always stood by our side for the fact that I'll spend money on the schooling and the college and university. But of course, when I was in college, it was like very difficult for my father to support, because we were three. So I'm the eldest one, and Varda is the second one, and Shezar is 3 years younger than me. So
All three girls.
Shezar is
Oh, Shezar. Sorry, I thought you said Shezar.
Shezar
Okay.
Khalid. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's my brother.
Okay.
But of course, when I was in college, it got tougher for him, to support us financially. So he used to take care of the family, and like the food and stuff and the bills, of course. So I didn't ask too much for the private college, because private colleges were quite expensive. So I thought it's okay, I'll go for like government college, and I'll took the coachings. So abhi bhi generally Pakistan mein yahi hota hai ki government colleges mein log enter karte hain aur coaching centers se padhte hain. So they study from coaching centers, which are like twice a week or thrice a week. They give you classes for the major courses, and the rest of the courses like Urdu, Islamiyat, English, you have to teach yourself for those courses. And the fees is like 2,000, 2,500 monthly, which is okay. Yeah, it's okay. So I got my college education intermediate done from PCHS, and then so I wanted to go to IBA. But IBA was, and it still is, very, very expensive. And I told my father, so he said, okay, sure, give the test and I'll do something for you. But then on the other side, my mother said, don't push him for this because there's Vada and there's Shezar. If he's like investing too much on your education, then how would he be able to, go for Vada's education? And Vada wanted to go for medical. So again, that was a tough challenge. So I thought, okay, I won't push Papa for IBA. I'll make it happen from like KU or some other government university, and I'll see. I'll go for a workplace. I'll do some jobs, and maybe I can save some money, and then I can go for a course myself. I can pay for it maybe some years later. But never mind, khair ho gayi. So then I gave test for Karachi University. So that was the turning point for me, because I studied from Anis Hussain, which was basically an institute. It still is, जो कि BCAT, CCAT और MCAT कराता है. So business college admission test. And in Anis Hussain, all the teachers are from IBA. So this was this 4-month course for which they charged around 35,000 for us, which was too much. But then my father said, okay, you'll be able to get into Karachi University on merit in the morning program, which requires some 75-80% percentage. I had the percentage. But you have to clear the test for that, and then the fees would be very subsidized. So I had to pay only 15,000 per semester, which was fair enough for us. So, but for that, I had to clear the test. So my father said, okay, you get into Anis Hussain. And I researched for it, which institute is the best. Okay, I said him, Anis Hussain is one of the best institute for this, BCAT, but it's like 30,000 for like 4 months. He said, I'll do it. Go for it. Okay. So my father was always encouraging about the education and stuff. So I entered Anis Hussain, and then I studied from these best teachers, which were from IBA. So there were like 4 courses: Maths, English, GK, and IQ. But the education, the content was phenomenal. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I was like, I want to get, I want teachers like these. I really want teachers like these. But of course, KU doesn't have those kind of teachers, like, to be very frank. And I cleared the test. I got admission into one of the best departments of Karachi University, which is DPA, Department of Public Administration. Though I wanted to go to KUBS again, business school was better than DPA, as I thought, because वो business school hai, so MBA would be better. But of course, I scored like 78% or 79%, and it closed around 82%. So like, never mind, DPA is sahi. But Alamia has a plan. So when I entered DPA, Department of Public Administration has a great culture of, exposing students to different activities, co-curriculars and stuff like that, where you get exposure. You're not just studying. So that was amazing. But other than that, like the curriculum and like teachers are not coming on time, things like these, it wasn't that good as मेरी expectations के हिसाब से ना. I always thought, यार marketing पढ़नी है तो किसी ज़बरदस्त teacher से पढ़नी है, advertising, brand management, consumer behavior, things like these. I need to, study these from like the best teachers. But then I graduated, and again, the problem was this, because this was the gap that I was always constantly feeling. Then I entered So I was a gold medalist, by the way. I got first position in bachelor's, but I was unable to get a job till 6 months. Like till
Amazing.
6 months, I was jobless, and I was like, okay, my mates, like my classmates, are getting really good jobs. Me being the gold medalist doesn't have a job till next 6 months, and so the problem was that I never had any internship in those 4 years. I was constantly focusing on studies. So that was the gap that, and then I encourage a lot of students today that you shouldn't be just focusing on studies. Okay, the grades are like it's good to have grades, but you have to get practical experience and go for internship, etc., etc. Also, my father passed away in between, like 2016. He passed away. I
Wow.
started the BPA course in 2015. It ended in 2018. My father passed away in 2016 November. So of course, there was some sort of psychological challenge, emotional challenge, and I wanted to just, drag myself to certain other things. I want to make myself busy. So I started participating in co-curricular activities, which I never did. I started participating in elections. Gladly, I won elections. Then I became a member of Student Executive Council in like 2016. He passed away. In 2017, I became the member of Student Executive Council because I just wanted to make myself busy.
I get you.
So, and that also taught me a lot because I got into a lot of co-curriculars. But nobody taught me, dude, internship karo, go for the experience. And I was like, no, I have to just focus on this bachelor's program and master's program. गोल्ड मेडल मिल गया, सब ठीक है, जॉब नहीं मिली बाद में. Like, बहुत मजाक की बात है कि लोग मजाक उड़ाएंगे. But so मैंने internship की Farm Evo में पहली, and then I got my first
What was
job.
the name of the company you did your internship in?
Farm Evo.
Farm Evo.
Okay. Farm Evo is one of the best pharmaceutical companies in Pakistan. So my senior used to be there. She got me in for the interview. I cleared the interview on my own merit, by the way. But so the internship was very good for 1.5 months. But of course, I was just the replacement of somebody who met with an accident. So there wasn't any such place. There wasn't any vacancy. I wanted to be there like as a permanent employee. That didn't happen. Then I started throwing my CVs to a lot of companies. And then I thought, because I want to go to like L'Oreal, Unilever, we'll be paid better. We'll be able to save money and get into IBA and study the course that I really wanted to study, which was journalism, of course, media. But so, where was I, by the way?
You were just talking about that how after the college, with the gold
IBA.
medal, you couldn't.
Yeah,
you couldn't
job.
Get
So
the
first job
job
was at Trax.
Yeah.
So I
And then
entered
you
at
said that
Trax.
you got the internship.
Yes. So I entered at Trax, and I was like, I'll be leaving within a month. Because first of all, so I was paid 20,000. Like that was my first salary.
Wow.
And I was like, no, gold medal, 20,000, shit. If I'm going to attend any, some alumni dinner, what would I say? That, everybody is making 40, 50,000 and having 20,000 with gold medal. This is very shameful. Then I thought, okay, I'll be applying for another positions and let's see what happens. And I'm going to resign very soon. But Alamia has a plan again. So I used to report to Ahmad Mushtaba. He liked my work. He got me introduced to Noman Aziz, who used to head the department, customer experience. I was placed in customer experience department because this was a startup, 2 years old startup, which didn't have a marketing department separately. But the position was social. So the position was customer support executive. And I was like, are you placing me in customer support department? They were like, yeah, we need some help with the emails, like customer support emails, and we need some help with social media. This is a new company and we'll be needing you for various tasks. I said, I'll be doing any task you want me to do. Don't give me this position of customer support executive, that would ruin my CV. Right, social media officer? And then make me even sweep your rooms. I'll be doing that, मुझे position अच्छी दो. तो उसने वो position change कर दी HR ने, because startup था तो ऐसे कोई rules नहीं थे. But I entered customer support department. I was constantly hiding from these calls and everything.
So what was the job role changed to? So your job role, he changed the title for you?
Title change किया था बस.
What was that?
Social media officer.
Oh, social media officer.
हाँ, वो मैंने दिया था.
Okay.
So I said, I'll be getting this title and now I'll do anything. No masla. ठीक है? I'll work hard for that. So
make sure my CV is okay.
My
CV is... So
because I was applying for other places as well, right? So But I was embarrassed that I'm not going to attend any alumni dinner till the time I'm able to get some good job. Then customer experience, I was parked and I was trying to not get into any calls or, customer support type ka kaam. That would just hurt my ego somehow. But okay, I did that. Thoda time ke liye, it's okay. Social media handle kiya. So I was trying to, take initiatives. So there was nothing. No social media pages were managed. There wasn't any designer. There wasn't any like ads running on Facebook because they were mainly on Facebook. So I took some initiatives. I didn't know. So ये conscious नहीं था, but just to stay away from that customer support वाला काम, I took some initiatives in social media department. And then they introduced me to the head of department that this girl is performing well. You should see what initiatives she has taken. She needs budget for this marketing campaign. And then this head of department directly introduced me to the CEO. This girl has a plan and she's taking initiatives, वगैरह वगैरह. And I started working with the CEO, like without directly reporting to him. So Hassan sir was the CEO, Hassan Khan, and he's a great mentor of mine even today. And then I started enjoying. I forgot to apply, and I stopped applying. And eventually I got a call from a company where I applied at the time when I was applying for tracks 6 months back. So they got me into a pool, but I was their second choice. So the first person who was shortlisted resigned in like 5-6 months till the time I was working at Tracks. And then they shortlisted some profiles from the same pool and then they called me. So I didn't apply, clearly. And I told this to Hassan sir as well that I didn't apply. This wasn't a plan. But I got a good offer, like almost double. So I was like, okay, I'm going to... So I didn't want to leave Tracks, by the way. I was enjoying. So they were like being very honest, they were paying me 35,000. I was like, अगर इन्होंने मुझे 30,000 भी दिए तो मैं रुक जाऊंगी क्योंकि मुझे मजा आ रहा है काम करने में. पर उन्होंने 30 भी नहीं दिए. So they were like, we don't have the budget, we don't have like the setup for marketing department. They weren't really prioritizing marketing department at that time. Fair enough, because that was a startup. So I resigned. Hassan sir was very angry. He didn't talk to me after that. And I joined Modest Clothing, worked there for like 1.5 years. During this time period, they started calling me, like after 6 months, there was this first call from Tracks that you should rejoin and we can revisit the salary, etc. Then I was like, I had this thing in my mind because I didn't get my FNF at that time. And I was like, बदतमीज लोग हैं यार, मेरे तो FNF भी नहीं दिया इन्होंने. मैं नहीं जा रही. So वो कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा सा था दिमाग में, but and then after 12 months I got another second call.
What is FNF again?
Full and final settlement.
Oh, okay, full and final settlement.
So I didn't get my last salary. I was angry about that. But for me, 20,000 mattered at the time, yaar.
Okay.
So for them, it might be just 20,000. For me, it was 20,000 that time because I was supporting myself financially. So, and then I worked for like 1.5 years at Modest Clothing, where I served as digital marketing executive. And then the third call was after 18 months from Tracks. So I didn't apply at that time again. But the thing was that after 1.5 years, I expected a good jump. Being a millennial, we need a good jump after a year or 2 years. And then again, that employer was like supportive. उन्होंने मुझे promote भी किया, assistant manager marketing की position मिल गई after 1.5 years. But the salary wasn't like, it has to be doubled, It wasn't doubled, it was just like 20% raise. So I was like, I don't think I deserve 20% raise. I think I deserve 80-90% raise. I'm working hard on it. And then Tracks called me and again I was very angry. I was like, I'm not going to go back. Pehli baat, logistics is very boring. Secondly, they didn't give me the FNF. Thirdly, I'm not going to go there. So my friends were like, मिल लो जाके, क्या हो गया? Just have to meet. तो मैंने कॉल पे उन्हें बोला कि so I quoted this amount which was more than double of my salary and I said I'll be looking for this much amount if I join, because I didn't want to join, like, to be very honest, because of the fact that I enjoyed the fashion brand.
Blood and,
So fashion brand was very fascinating and they said okay. So I was like, अगर ये ओके बोल रहे हैं और मैंने तुक्के में तीर मार दिया है तो फिर देख लेते हैं, So then I went to Tracks again and I got interviewed. We had 2 meetings and when they said yes, so I was like, मैं ऐसा नंबर फेंक रही हूँ जिस पे अगर कि राजी हो जाए तो मुझे दुख नहीं होगा फैशन ब्रांड छोड़ते हुए फिर. So they said yes and then I joined as assistant manager marketing because मेरा assistant manager का time period बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं था Modest का, because it was like 2 months that I got promoted to this position. I joined Tracks. I enjoyed Tracks like to the core. It got big. Marketing department was there. They were having the budget. I took great initiatives. So I was making content at the time when I didn't even, considered myself as a content creator. All the initiatives were related to content creation. So we got some photography done for the brand. We created some ads, in-house ads. Some videography done. We created testimonials. So I wanted to create content, like the authentic content for the brand. That was my marketing strategy. The people who are using the service of Tracks should be sharing their experience, should be sharing their stories, so that I'll be able to convince more potential customers for Tracks, because they will be seeing the real stories. I was doing that. And during this time, again, so Alamia has a plan. So Alamia got me to Tracks for a reason. I got connected to Hassan sir for a reason. Hassan sir introduced me to Asad Abdullah. So you see the chain. Ahmad Mushtaba, the person I used to report to, worked with me for like 15-20 days and introduced me to the head of the department, who worked with me for a week, introduced me to the CEO. When I came back, Hassan sir within a month introduced me to Asad Abdullah for some of the Genesis work. So Genesis is the parent company of Tracks, and he said Asad needs some help with Genesis pages, जो मैंने आज तक मैनेज नहीं किए, by the way. Did a lot of workload. But so Asad sir said, I went to Asad sir. I heard great things about Asad sir, that he's very intimidating. And when I used to work at Tracks on my first job, the people used to say, उस कमरे में मत जाना, because he used to be there in a room where there used to be, nobody used to enter, because he's like considered a much intimidating person, and he's very scary. He's very scary, by the way, in real also. So I never entered in his room. Hassan just sent me to his room, and then I talked to him like, what sort of help you need? And he was like, I need help with Genesis page. I was like, okay, please make me super admin. So I was like, okay, I'll make you super admin so you can remove me from the Genesis page. I was like, no, sir, I'm not going to remove you. I'm like, very serious. Like, kidding, yaar. Go, ye to chill insaan hai, yaar. Aime dada diya logon ne. Yes. But so I got introduced to Asad sir. During this time period, there was a program called Ladder to Leadership, which was launched. So the program was launched by Genesis, which was about a talent pool. They created a talent pool from all the 6-7 companies they had within the group. And the pool, the people who were shortlisted has to go from certain process. There's this test, IQ, EQ, GK sort of test, and after those tests, we have certain team presentations, and the third phase is meeting the CEOs. There are interviews with every CEO in Genesis Holdings, and the last stage is getting interviewed by the director of Genesis Holdings, which is Asad Abdullah. So I passed all those phases. I went to Asad sir, and I got to know that there is so the purpose was whoever is in the talent pool we'll be giving them opportunities. We won't be considering external people, and they'll be giving the opportunities. Other than that, if there is no position but they have certain passion, we'll be investing in their passion. So without a doubt, I was like, I'm going to get the Dunkin opportunity because I belong to marketing. And there's an opportunity at Dunkin, assistant brand manager ki position. I was like, I'm going to get that. Hassan sir also encouraged me, oh, there's a position, you have to get interviewed and just impress us, study about Dunkin. I studied about Dunkin. There was no question about Dunkin in the interview. So it wasn't the interview, casual discussion. 1 घंटे की discussion हुई, इसी तरह से background लिया उन्होंने सारा. And at the end of the interview, the conversation, he said, what is that one thing that you always wanted to do, but you never did due to money or the financial support you didn't have? So now imagine you have like hell amount of financial support, and what would you like to do now? And that's something that you can do like 24/7. So I said, and instantly I was like, I always wanted to start my interview series. Like, I love journalism, I love storytelling, and I love covering success stories. And it comes from the place, not just success stories, like the educational content. So I have taught as well. Like, I've taught at Hamdard University as a visiting faculty for marketing. And my love for education and educational department is different. Because I was unable to get some like good teachers, I always wanted to study to have that level of education, which I was unable to get due to due to the, like, I belong to average institutes. They are average institutes, to be very honest. So I always had this gap that I want to bring people who are like very good at marketing, very good at finance, maybe psychology, maybe nutrition, different topics, and they can teach me and I can teach people. I can record these conversations. The best people in the fields, I want to interview them. I want to cover some success stories. Also, this was the one side, like the experts, and the other side was there are people who are the true hustlers. Acha, hustle wasn't finalized, by the way, but who are the true hustlers, who have great stories, but they're like the unsung heroes. So, for example, my van wala, when I used to work at tracks, so I was waiting for a girl, because we used to wait. There are 6-7 girls in a van and we have to wait another girl. There were like 10 minutes and I was discussing Akram bhai, उनका नाम है, Akram bhai से बात हो रही थी, तो मैंने तो बता रहे थे बेटा हर काम के लिए बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ती है, ऐसे कुछ नहीं मिलता. So he belonged to Sakhar and he came here with the purpose of, you know, earning for the family, and he started with serving for somebody else. So he used to drive for somebody else. Then he said फिर मैंने कमिटी डाली, ठीक है, और हमने मिलके कमेटी डाली, और फिर हमने 3-4 साल देयर सम टाइम पीरियड उनका, फिर हमने कमेटी निकाली, फिर हमने गाड़ी पे इन्वेस्ट किया, फिर हमने वो गाड़ी अपनी ली, हमने खुद चलाई. उसके बाद फिर अगले 3 सालों में उन्होंने एक और गाड़ी ली, फिर हमने कमेटी डाल के किया. तो अब वो ज़्यादा कमा रहे थे, उन्होंने बड़ी कमेटी डाली, एंड विद इन लाइक 6-7 years or the time period of 8 years, these two brothers had their 3 vans, and they were supporting not just their family but also some of the other relatives. So they were able to earn.
I have a question in that. You know, when you say committee, right, for our audience, how does, because it's a very beautiful community element that we have here in Pakistan, right, which enable people, and it happens without any documentation, you know, without any collateral, right, and we just do that on the trust element. So would you like to just shed some light on that, how he was able to get his first van and then he built it up to have the second one, and he was just giving you the advice that,
so the committee is like the process where there are maybe 15-20 people who are like collaborating, and monthly, for example, they're giving this 40,000, 50,000, everybody's like collaborating with it, and each month one person gets the whole amount. So maybe it can be, I don't know, it depends on the committee.
How big is the amount that they have actually
so it can
decided?
be 8 lakhs, it can be 10 lakhs, it can be 1 lakh as well, it can be 20 lakhs as well. So it depends on the committee monthly amount. So the committee he used to belong to would be having around 20-25 people, and the amount was also very big. Like a monthly they used to pay, I don't know, 80,000-70,000. And then they would, and of course the time period was also big, 2-3 years. So everybody collaborates to help, you know, one person, and each month one person's getting the whole amount, the total basically, which helps them buy something, invest in something, get some sort of asset. So this was the asset that they got.
So he got a first van using
first
the
van. Yes,
and the when your turn comes is decided on the luck of the draw, right? So so you have a luck of the draw, and then you just pick the name, and then you are happy with it, right?
Yes,
and some people
it has to be that way.
And some people use this tool as a saving as well. So some people volunteer that I want the last one.
A lot of people do that, by the way. No, I don't want money right now. I'll be wasting the money. So you save my money.
You save my money. And you see this level of trust, right? And then some people who are desperately in need, if it's the daughter's wedding coming up, or the education, or I don't know, some other functions that are coming up, they'll be like, can I have the first one because I'm stuck? And just the community within the community help one another, right?
A lot of people work this way. They get their weddings done, they get their cars, they get their houses. A lot of work is done through committees right now in Pakistan. So that story actually inspired me. I was like, these are the true hustlers, you know, these are the stories that people don't know, you know. He didn't stop. He found the solution for himself, you know, and getting a car or getting a van is not an easy thing, 100%. But he just had a plan for that, and he was consistent. He saved, he didn't waste the money. So so I told Asad sir that these are the stories that I want to cover, and of course the educational side as well. I want to bring the experts. And he said, how much money do you need for that? No, aage se. I was like, this is very like spontaneous conversation. I had no idea. But मैंने marketing में shoots किए थे, तो मुझे इतना था कि per video it like people charge 25,000-30,000 if you hire a videographer, freelance videographer. So I said maybe this much amount, 20,000-30,000, or maybe for like if we go for one episode every week, it can be 1 lakh, 1,20,000 per month. He said, okay, give me a plan. and I'll be investing if you give me a strong plan. I was like, okay. So I wasn't like really ready for that because I never thought of getting into any sort of work apart from my job, because I used to follow my JD religiously. You know, just 9 to 5. If I belong to tracks, I'll be doing all work related to tracks. And I used to teach at Hamdard, but I never prepared a single lecture at the office. Never ever, because I thought, no, this time is not for Hamdard. So once I step out of office, like after 7, after 6, I'll be working on the lectures. I can't do this. So for me, working on a special project was like, when will I do it? I procrastinated. I procrastinated for like 3-4 months. And every time Asad sir used to through a sarcasm, आपने तो कहा था आप प्लान बनाएंगी, आपका प्लान कहाँ है, आपका प्लान कहाँ है. He kept insisting that you should go for a plan, and I was constantly thinking that how am I going to do that? But then there was a time when like the person I used to report resigned, and then I started reporting to another person. So there was, because I used to be assistant manager, there was another manager marketing, and I wasn't at that time, like after 8 months, I wasn't really happy with the manager, and I wasn't really feeling like working for him anymore. So I thought I should resign either, or I should make myself busy, because it's just 8 months. I can't resign in 8 months, you know, that would not give a good impression on my CV. Let me complete 12 months and then I'll be, you know, looking for another opportunity. But these are like 4 months gap. Now what am I supposed to do? I started updating my LinkedIn. First of all, that was the time that I started working on my LinkedIn, so that I should attract opportunities rather than applying. That has to be the mantra. The second thing I did was, then I kept thinking, I was like, I should go for this project. I mean, a short-term project, like 4 months, big deal. After 4 months, I'll be like resigning. Like, mera kya nuksan hai?
Yeah.
Then I thought, and I need to work with good people. The gap that was there in the university life, that I want to learn from the best teachers, was still there, that I learned from the best leaders.
Mentors, yeah.
And I'm not liking this guy anymore. So I just don't get the vibe. I can't work this way. So I thought working with Asad Abdullah would be fascinating. I'll be learning so much. So I should go for the project. I didn't think too much कि अगर मैं project में jump in करती हूँ, कोई अपना पैसा लगा रहा है, मैं 4 महीने बाद छोड़ूंगी तो क्या होगा, कुछ नहीं सोचा. और ना कोई company या business background तो है ही नहीं ना. No business acumen, no business background. I was like, this is just a project. We'll be doing certain interviews and I'll be updating Facebook page. I just thought of a Facebook page. That's it. Nothing else. And the other fact is that I hate Facebook now. But so I thought just about the Facebook page and then prepared a PPT. बड़ी कोई बेकार सी पीपीटी थी. आई डोंट नो, पता नहीं था सर को कैसे अच्छी लगी. कोई 6-7 स्लाइड्स की पीपीटी थी जिसमें मैंने बेसिक्स डाले थे कि ये हमारा खर्चा होगा, दिस विद लाइक द एक्सपेंस. एंड सो देयर वाजंट एनीथिंग अबाउट द रेवेन्यू और मनी स्ट्रीम, नथिंग. दिस वाज अ स्पेशल प्रोजेक्ट. ही वाज इन्वेस्टिंग इन माई पैशन. आई हैड अ पैशन फॉर स्टोरी टेलिंग एंड आई विल गो फॉर इट. दैट्स इट, nothing else. And I presented it, और नाम सोचना था, तो I was like, has to be something with hard work, great determination, passion. I started looking for synonyms of these words. I wasn't getting it. Then I started looking for quotations, and then there was this quotation, hustle hard sort of quotation. I was like, hustle, that's the word. And I loved red always. I like, red is for me. The red is my vibe. And I thought, whenever I'll be making my page or brand, I'll be doing it red. And there's no science behind it, there's no meaning. Then I started telling people, you know, red is the color for passion, red is the color for grit, red is the color for determination. But eventually I love red, that was the reason. So I started with that, and there wasn't any logo. I just presented, I said, ye hustle naam hoga, aise interviews karenge. And it's like, who are you going to interview for the first time? So due to like when I was working at Trax, I was connected to a lot of people. So because of the marketing department at Modest and at Trax, I was connected to a lot of people. So I was like, I'll go to Extreme Commerce and I'll interview this guy who's making millions through working on Amazon. And he's just 19 years old. He studies at Urdu University. He doesn't have strong educational background, but he's earning hell amount of money through working on Amazon, FBA, and private label, and because he got the course done from Extreme Commerce. So that I'm going to interviews. I wanted to interview Sunny Ali, but why would he give me the interview? I was like, chalo, isse start karte hain. Hamza was the first guy who I interviewed, and so Hamza was very good, but I wasn't a good host, nor a good videographer. Was it terrible interview because and मैंने सबसे बड़ा भंड क्या मारा, मैंने editor भगा दिया because मैंने उसको mark करके दिया, you know, you have to start from here and here, these are the seconds. I marked seconds. I took 3 hours to mark seconds and I wanted to make it perfect, and in order to make it perfect I just made the whole experience miserable for editors and they ran away, and the first episode wasn't edited. It was just
That
short.
is
And then
amazing.
after 3 weeks, because then I had to go to Naran. I was traveling and I came back and I was constantly in Naran Kagan Valley में बैठ के messaging guy, please edit कर दो, please edit कर दो, वापस जाके असद सर को दिखाना है. He was then editing. So I came back, then I asked a friend of mine, Daniel. I was like, यार edit कर दो, फ्री में प्लीज़, पैसे नहीं है, अब कर दो. तो दानियाल ने फिर कुछ ना कुछ करके, दानियाल ने बोला ये जो तुमने सेकंड्स बाकी है ना, इसे हटाओ यहाँ से, पागलपना. लाइक आई एडिट इट माई सेल्फ. मैंने कहा ओके एडिट कर दो, जैसे करना बस कर दो, ठीक है. फिर मैं असद सर के पास गई, मैंने उनको सच सच बताया कि मैंने ऐसे ऐसे किया और एडिटर भाग गया है तो वो नहीं आ रहा. और अच्छा, हमने उसकी वीडियोग्राफी के भी पैसे नहीं दिए बाय द वे, बिकॉज आई वाज वेरी एंग्री. आधा काम करके छोड़ दिया. सर बोले चलो खर्चा तो हुआ ही नहीं है, अब ढूंढ लो कोई. So I changed 4 videographers and editors. After 4th one, I learned leadership. So I was like, okay, I need to work on myself. They are not, the ones who have the problems. I have the problem. I need to learn how to lead people. I can work on my own, but when it comes to leading people, I'm miserable. So I learned that. But ये कि खैर पहला एपिसोड हो गया, फिर दूसरा पिंक राइडर्स के साथ किया. ये सब थे बगैर होस्ट के, by the way. So I wasn't hosting. So in my family, there's this thing that, of course, education is the main thing. Girls are not getting that much education as well, because they're getting married into it like when they're 18 or 20. And so job karna, uske liye permission lena was another thing. Then if I need to travel, I have to take permission, which was another thing. Then I am coming like on camera. That just can't happen, that's something very tough. And I was like, I'm never going to get the permission. I can do the interview series. मैंने असद सर को तो वहाँ बोल दिया था, मैंने प्रोजेक्ट भी दे दिया. I was like कि शुरू में हम इसको सिंगल पर्सन रखेंगे and then I'll find some host for it. Then Asad sir kept asking, मैंने उनको बताया नहीं कि ये मसला है, and he kept asking me, why are you not hosting the show? I mean, you should host the show, that's your project. I was like, I'm looking for a better host. I think I'm not a good host, etc., etc. But after that, my friend said one thing to me, that the challenge is just in our mind. You think too much about this, that I'm not going to get the permission, I'm not going to, I'm unable to talk to my mother and things like these. What would relatives say? That's just in your head. If you start doing it, everything will, follow and will be adjusted. So मैंने रिकॉर्ड कर लिया इंटरव्यू होस्ट के तौर पे, और मैंने किसी को बताया नहीं. So वो इंटरव्यूज रिकॉर्ड हो गए थे. उसके लॉन्च से पहले आई हैड टू टेल माय मदर. So they were like 2 weeks, because वो पुराने वाले जो रिकॉर्ड हुए थे सिंगल पर्सन वो चल रहे थे, और जो होस्ट वाला था वो 2 हफ्ते बाद लॉन्च होना था. आई हैड 15 days. Like, I can't talk to my mother about this, butterflies in my stomach. But then Daniel, a friend of mine, said, you don't need to, focus on this, ki I am doing this. You have to just be relaxed and show her that you have interviewed teachers and, best people, the experts, you're interviewing experts, you're not doing anything wrong. Just let it happen. So I thought कि इसको चलने देते हैं जब तक कोई पकड़ नहीं लेता, because views तो है नहीं. Then I thought, no, I should be telling her in a subtle manner. तो मैंने बताया नहीं, मैंने दिखाया subtle way में. So 15 दिन तो मैं वेट करी थी, मूड कब अच्छा होता है. Then I didn't get like a good time with my mother, because there was a lot of hustle. She was busy, I was busy. Then there was this one time when we were going for shopping and she was very happy, and I was like, oh, this is the right time. She's happy for the shopping. And before the time when we were like about to leave, I was like, yeah, look at these dresses that I've worn for the interview. अच्छा, उन्हें पता था मैं interviews कर रही हूँ, ये तो पता था. ठीक है, ये नहीं पता था कि
you were doing interviews, but she wasn't aware of that you were gonna go in front of the camera. But you had already recorded the episode. So, I always preach that, right? Sometimes it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission, right?
Yes,
so that's what
I do always.
That's what you actually took the approach to find what you wanted to do. Okay.
So I didn't ask for forgiveness, by the way. I was like, look at the dresses. I was interviewing and I didn't like the dresses. We should get new dresses. She didn't think too much on it, She's like a homemaker. She's not gone out and things
Not a
like these.
streetwise, so
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
just
yeah.
very,
She's
very,
like,
yeah.
hey, you don't
Like
look
most
good.
of our mothers, like,
हाँ, she's
yeah,
like, you don't
okay.
look good. I think we should get new dresses for you. And अब shopping पे जा रहे हैं तो इस हिसाब से सोचना ऐसा कलर लेना जो कैमरा में अच्छा लगे. हो गया खत्म. ठीक है
And
ना?
she said that,
She
right?
was okay because she didn't know कि वो YouTube पे आ रहा है.
Aha.
ठीक है, तो
Okay.
अब मैंने दिखा दिया, अगले भी दिखा दिए. फेसबुक पे आ रहे थे, फेसबुक पे वो हैं, एडेड थी. मैंने उनके फ़ोन से जाके मैंने कहा देखिए ये हसल है, ये मेरा पेज है, ये मेरे इंटरव्यूज़ हैं, मैंने दिखाए. शी वाज लाइक ओके, दुपट्टा ठीक से पहनो, ईस्टर्न कपड़े पहनना वगैरह वगैरह. देन देयर वाज दिस वन डे व्हेन माय ब्रदर वाज लाइक, आई सॉ यू ऑन यूट्यूब. आई वाज लाइक हार्ट बीट शिट. इसको भंड मारना था. ही वाज अबाउट टू ट्रैवल बाय द वे इन अ वीक. ही वाज गोइंग टू लाइक स्कर्दू और समथिंग. तो मैंने फिर ब्लैकमेल प्लान शुरू किया. मैंने कहा बेटा सारी स्टोरीज मेरे पास ही आती हैं तो
So that's
मैंने कहा
now siblings actually
हाँ
negotiating, right?
we negotiated.
We negotiate.
हाँ, so like I'm going to support you for this, you gotta support me for this. ठीक
Okay.
है, and don't make it big, tell her that I'm on YouTube, don't make it big, that's the only thing. तो वो सटल वे में निकल जाती है बात, तो निकल जाती है. उसको जितना बड़ा बनाते हैं वो बड़ी होती जाती है.
Now at
तो
this point, I want you to hold your thought, right? And I want to just rewind back a little. So you mentioned that you get into the university and the very year or the next year, your father passes away.
हाँ.
And by the sound of it, he was your rock, and he was the one who wanted to make sure that your fate is not going to be what is the fate of many girls, many daughters here in Pakistan because of the culture. How was that? It must have been really difficult because now you got to focus on education because you have worked so hard. It's not the institute you wanted to go into, but you are there anyway. But the type of a person, what I'm getting now is that you want to make sure that you do, 100% no matter where you are. So now you have to deal with the emotions. Now you know that rock is gone. And with your mother's story and this is just me thinking out loud here, right? Your mother is a bit conservative, so she just is worried, perhaps, that if she's on the camera, how the future in-laws are going to think and how the society is going to perceive it all. So losing your father, first of all, how was it? I know you got yourself busy and getting into the committees and getting into the societies that you joined while you were in the university. How did you manage emotionally? What was it like? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So there was a lot of anger because of the fact that I just want to make my own decisions. I don't want interruptions. I don't want involvement. So once your father is there, nobody gets involved into the decision making. But the time when your father is not there, and because my mother is not that emotionally strong, that's the truth. She get affected by the societal pressure and whatever relatives says, and she's always thinking कि वो क्या सोचेंगे. So I was always unable to make decisions for myself at that time. And one thing that I wanted to make sure was that I need to be financially independent. I have to be financially strong because that is the only way to make decisions for myself. वरना तो फिर साल 2 साल में शादी हो जाती और I wouldn't have been able to
and
say
that
anything.
might well have, because especially when the father is gone and if the girl is of the age, the first solution comes because you see,
and whatever the first rishta comes,
Haan. Right? And I think there is practicality behind it, and this is just my view. The financial crunch comes, right? Because if your father is a breadwinner, so he's providing for your family, right? And when he's providing for the family, then that gap has to be filled first. And I'm sure the relatives comes, uncles and aunties and other relatives come, but that's very short-lived.
I'll tell you one thing. So my father saved for our education. By the way, so he created a student accounts at the time when I was in first year. I was like, Papa, मेरा account क्यों बना रहे हैं?
Wow.
So he's like, student account है, रहने दो, तुम्हारी semester की फीस है इसमें. I was like, okay. जब भी semester की फीस देनी हो यहाँ से दे देना. हम खुद भरते थे, कराची यूनिवर्सिटी में जाते थे, लाइन में लगते थे, तो पेरेंट्स नहीं जाते थे. तो he's like कि तुम्हारा student account है, इसमें फीस है. So I had no clue that this is going to happen. Maybe he had something in mind or whatever. So he saved money for all the 8 semesters for me and for Varda as well. एंड बिकॉज शेजर हिफ्स कर रहा था उस टाइम पे, तो वो पढ़ नहीं रहा था, हिफ्स
Okay.
कर रहा था.
Okay. So did you
So
finish that?
he didn't complete his education, by the way. After that, he started working at my father's place. But पर उसने हिफ्स पूरा
So
किया.
he completed the
हाँ
memorization of
हाँ
Quran
हाँ
word
हाँ.
by word. Okay.
But so semester fees was saved, but we started the tuition thing and started earning like 10, 12,000, 15,000 for ourselves. So Vada started giving tuitions. I started giving tuitions. Shazar was unable to give tuitions, but he used to work at my father's place. He used to know people. He used to be a property dealer, like a state agent. So वो घर रेंट पे दिलवाने की हद तक तो शेजर कर लेता था, but when
Okay.
it comes to selling homes, वो इतना छोटा था, वो
He
नहीं
didn't
कर
have the skills that, yeah, because
and
these
people
are the big decisions.
not used to trust him at that time, you know.
Yeah, because buying a home here, especially when people usually can't afford it, it's basically
हाँ
used as a investment opportunity or
हाँ
lifetime saving
हाँ
going into it. So
hmm,
it's a big decision.
hmm.
So your
But
father was in there.
हाँ
So that void, right?
hmm,
Emotional void. I know you.
हाँ
How
हाँ.
did you overcome that? I know you got busy, but what else? You said there was a lot of anger. Anger towards who?
Like towards the people, I mean, you see the attitudes might change, you know, sometimes. I mean, कल तो इतने अच्छे से बात कर रहे थे, अभी क्या हो गया इनको, you know, things like these. Because so I'm not asking you for money, you know, but whenever people come, they might think this way, that they're going to ask for money, you know. So people
Because they are
started,
dependent now.
yes, you know.
They are not
So there are
independent.
very few people, and they are like amazing human beings, and they were there. Emotional support हमेशा रहा है उनका, but there were a lot of other people who started, you know, the behaviors changed for some people, not from
Yeah,
from
no, it's
everybody's
only
side.
natural. Yeah, you have a mix.
So it's like, you know, I'm not going to ask you for money, you know. There's a lot of self-respect, and we never asked for money. We did on our own, be it through tuitions, be it through savings. There were a good amount of savings from my father's side, which helped us like for a year or 2 years, and then we were able to earn some sort of money. Shazar was able to earn, I was able to earn, Varda was able to earn. With the passage of time, within like 2-3 years, we were able to earn for ourselves, which was okay. But you meeting me thinking that I'm going to ask you for money, God, come on, small-minded people. So for me, what it still makes me angry, because there's a lot of small-mindedness around us, and you think that you know, she needs to get married because she's 22. The anger was there also for the fact that, you know, if I've completed my bachelor's, oh my god, her bachelor's are going to be completed. यहाँ तो intermediate में शादी हो जाती है, bachelor's हो गया उसका, she's not getting married. You know, and they used to tell my mother. So the anger was because of the fact that they used to tell my mother, you should, you know, make her get married. And I have a rishta, I'm like, आपके रिश्तेदारों की तरफ से रिश्ते आएंगे ना, मैंने भगा देना उनको.
Yes, that's
And some sort of anger is still there, but now, so that situation actually made me emotionally strong, you know. And I consider myself emotionally strong today, because now I'm able to voice my opinion, and that's the main thing. A lot of girls even today are unable to voice their opinions, and a lot of people are unfortunately unable to handle opinionated women. And that's the thing my mother tells me, कहीं जाओ तो मुंह बंद करके बैठना, चुप करके बैठो तुम. But then I'm like,
because that's all she knows. That's all she knows. You see, we need to sort of like, you know, that's all she's been exposed to. So if somebody hasn't learned the counting from, you know, 100 to 150 per se, right?
I also don't blame her, because you know, she's a single parent. She would be worried about me, and that's okay. That's okay.
Tough.
What I need to do is to convince her.
Yes.
That's it.
That's all matters to you.
I'm not going to be convinced. ये तो तय है,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
But I'm not going to rebel. ये भी तय है.
Yes.
तो साथ लेकर तो चलना है. But ये है कि कुछ बातें उनकी मान ली जाएं, कुछ अपनी मनवा ली जाएं. And going back to that YouTube wala time, when Sheza said, you know, you're on YouTube, and she told my mother, and there was a little time that was tough for a few weeks. She wasn't talking to me.
I want to make a comment, right? You have actually built this armor, right, to get to where you are or where you're headed, and I can see there is the future, which is far more beautiful than it has been to date for you. Because I was trying to just dig deeper into your emotional, you know, that how did you, but you have built this armor to just be okay, right? And it's a warrior-like mindset. And I think it's amazing. And in that process, right, what's coming to my mind is vulnerability, right? Vulnerability is beautiful as well. And I'm not saying that, that you don't have it, right? But sometimes even expressing it, sometimes saying that, it was very tough. I know we don't allow ourselves to feel sorry or be, victimizing ourselves, right? Because it has to be highlighted for what you're doing today. That's why I was encouraging you, that your story has to be heard, because a lot of people think that it's not possible. The other day I had a guest here, right? And he has had the opportunity, and he was very open about considering himself that he was just privileged. So all the head starts he got in life, he was very open about it, that I got head start because I was privileged. My father was the first generation who worked hard to make better lives for us. But after high school, he decided to go and do double degree in Canada, right? And he said, I remember sitting on a plane that day, and deep down in his voice he was saying that it's not because you're talented, it's just you're privileged. That's why you're getting to go, right? And for him to have that realization and accepting it, and for you being a girl coming from a middle class family, conservative societal pressures, and doing what you're doing with cameras, recording, voicing your opinion, these are chain breakers, right? These are the things which we need more of, right? And in the mix of it all, you happen to have a supporting father, and now a lot of fathers are starting to realize that.
Yes.
So there is that element that fathers are realizing that, and in that mix, you lose that support, right? And you still have to just keep moving on. You have the anger, that's one emotion. But then you need to prove a point to yourself that you are not going to take anybody's pity, and you're not going to let anybody tell you otherwise. So anger is valid. But the beauty that I'm seeing is channeling that anger that you have done, right? You said,
I
okay,
think
I'm going to
this is
have these
from
channels.
Alamia's side, because I think a lot of people are not that resilient, and I don't think I've built the resilience. I mean, I think it was there because every challenge that came my way, I was like, I'll do whatever I feel like doing, this way or that way, with you or without you. That was there, and I think whenever I see entrepreneurs who are making waves and they have this resilience, and Asad sir also said this, that the person who has resilience go a long way. And I don't know how people build that resilience if this is a conscious effort. I believe that I was blessed with resilience from the beginning, and maybe some sort of situations made me resilient, maybe.
100%.
My father passing away, then getting me as a girl. If I was a boy, it would have been easier.
Different ballgame altogether, yeah.
But me being girl, and start voicing my opinions and getting a lot of counter arguments on, like, on education, on travel, on getting on job, on being on camera, things like these just made me more strong, because मैं तो नहीं सुनने वाली आपकी.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
respect you, but I'm
yes.
not going to follow whatever you say.
And it's important. You see, you touched on the point where you weren't happy with the manager, the person you were reporting to, right? I have had similar experiences in my journey as well, right? We all are a byproduct of failures and knockdowns, and we are byproduct of challenges that comes our way. I look at those handicaps, those difficulties that came my way, as a blessing, right? If they weren't there, I wouldn't have known life the way I do. I would not have learned the emotions that I know exist in this complex human existence, right? So I look at those handicaps as a blessing, because one is your plan, and you said Alamia has a plan, right? I love it, right? So there is a master plan, right? So I had that experience where I worked really, really hard. So I was just talking about my personal story, that I was bought an Intel laptop and Intel computer when my father couldn't afford it. And I was a child. I was 10, 11 years of age, and it's just had a seed in my head. And years after ups and downs, I managed to get a job. And when I go to this beautiful company, which had an impact on a child in a third world country, when people couldn't even afford or understood, when I finally got in there, I happened to find a manager who wasn't very pleasant. And the drive and the passion that I had to literally make an impact through that organization where I was going in, which is an amazing institution, by the way, 50-year-old institution, right? And, global presence. Intel is not a small name, right? But 4 months in, I was ready to throw the towel in just because of the manager. And then in a strange series of events, a new manager comes in, the leaders who are always out there. And I'm going to touch on that, why it happens. But when he came, he just said to me, he had such a beautiful approach. And he said he could see the fire in me. He reminded me of my grandmother. So the reason I can relate to you is that he reminded me of my grandmother, who was my rock at that time, who could understand the chaos that I have within me, right? He said to me, and amazing, Aiden Harty, I still remember him, He said, I tell you one thing. What my mom used to always tell me is there is a lot of noise in the world. What you got to focus on is your inner voice and ignore the noise, right?
Lovely.
And that was one of the best piece of advice I needed. So I didn't need no lectures. You see what I mean? I didn't need no special training or technicalities. I needed a leader, a mentor. But I believe, why it happened is because if you are truly convicted, if you are clear that what you want, because we all are unique, right?
True.
We all have our own hero's journey that we are on. If you are clear on it, if you are convicted, if you know where you want to go, this universe will get literally busy making it happen for you.
True.
But you got to stay resilient. You got to trust the process. You got to understand that if something coming your way, it's forming you to be the person that you're going to thank in the future.
Yes. Actually, मुझे भी मसला सिर्फ आता है जब मैं फैसला नहीं कर पाती. So as long as I've decided कि ये करना है, then I'll be, finding solutions for that.
Yes.
But till the time I'm unable to make any decision, मुझे सिर्फ problem वहाँ पे, then there's a lot of emotional pressure till the time I'm unable to make the decision. Only that times were hard. And
I
rest
think,
of the times I'm finding the solution. That's
you see, there is a beautiful piece. So people like us who are stubborn, and it's very easy. It's not very easy to get through to us, right? It has to be data driven. It has to be in a very unique way transformed. But what we can do from our end is carefully craft a mastermind group, right?
Yes.
And you're already there,
yes.
right? And I want to take that learning from your story, right? You're already there because when you said that, okay, I'm going to go and find a new job, or working with Asad Abdullah, you mentioned, right? That I'm going to actually have amazing opportunity to learn from someone whose life or whose experiences I don't have. So you had that. So all we got to do, consciously create that mastermind group who we can literally trust. They accept us for who we are. There is no such thing as perfect.
True.
There is no such thing as perfect. We are beautiful when we piece each other like a puzzle and make a beautiful picture, right? That's the true essence of humans.
And I think आपने इससे पहले बड़ी मजे की बात बोली कि these things made us the way we are today, because if I would have been happy with my boss, I wouldn't have started Hustle.
There you go. And that's a beautiful story, right? And I think this is what we try to do, right? And I think your story is so beautiful that you're going to keep on going, and you have shared with us the journey, how you got to the hustle. And you have amazing people coming on your podcast. And I would highly recommend people to just check out your podcast, because you are literally getting true hustlers on board.
Yes.
Our goal is similar, and working together is the only way to solve the big problems, right?
Absolutely.
So, getting your story that, hey, I'm not there yet, but learnings are still there, But what I have attained, this is my journey. I'm going to come back on the podcast for Phoenixes again in 2 years or a year. And I'm going to talk about my journey again, right? Because it's a journey, right? So we talk about, the podcast for Phoenixes. We talk about cyclical nature, that you are going to go down. You're going to have those adversities. You're going to lose your loved one who's your rock, or you're going to have a boss who actually, you work 17, 18 years to get a job, in my case, for example. And in 4 months, they will tell you that 18 years are nothing. Do you know what I mean? But this is the very core of being a phoenix. You go, but you rise from the ashes again. And that's entrepreneurship. Anybody who has made this world that bit better in their lifetimes had the same mindset, right? And you want to basically distribute that mindset. You want to share it. You want to talk about it. And you don't want to talk about it once you're a success story. You want to talk about it when you still don't know what's going to happen. Perhaps next year.
That's my learning.
Do you know what I mean? And that next year, perhaps we might be doing something different. And I'm super comfortable with it. There's nothing wrong with it. There is no one size fits all, right? So sharing those messages is what we do, you know. And as we come to the close, right? And I know there was a lot that we want to go deeper with the society and challenges. You are an example. You're creating an amazing example for our youth, right? Not only youth, but the girls who actually think that it's not possible, right? And hearing your story, I think it's phenomenal, right? So what one piece of advice before we wrap up you would give to aspiring entrepreneurs, but at the same time girls who would face similar societal challenges that you would have faced? What would be that piece of advice from you?
So, two things. One thing is that, as I said, I don't know if people build the resilience over time or is there a conscious effort. I mean, you have to understand one thing. या तो आप करियर बना लें, आप बहाने बना लें. Because अगर आपको करियर बनाना है, be it business, be it entrepreneurship, be it any other field, if you really want to work, you have to like find solutions instead of finding excuses, you know. Even I didn't get permission. Even I get a lot of restrictions. There are a lot of restrictions, and even during those restrictions you can make it happen if you really want to make it happen. So you have to build the resilience. उर्दू में ढिठाई बोलते हैं, stubbornness कह लें. Stubborn को ढीठ कहते हैं उर्दू में. Okay. So you need that ढिठाई. And the second thing is that you have to have great people, जो आपने बात बोली थी, because मैंने एक चीज़ पढ़ी है और मैं उसको बहुत ज़्यादा practice करती हूँ, that you have to understand your psychological diet. You take care of your physical diet, you understand what you're putting in your stomach, but you don't understand what you're putting in your mind. The people you sit with, the content you consume, the influencers you follow, the books you read, the places you go, everything is associated with your psychological diet. And if you're not really taking care of the time you're investing in, where you're investing in, with the people you're sitting with, you won't be able to get there, because it's not just about working 9 to 5 and working really hard. It's more about what you do on weekends, what you do after the real job is done, what sort of learnings you have, what sort of people are teaching you. You have to understand that, and you have to take care of your psychological diet. You'd be improving yourself personally and professionally both.
Such a powerful message. And you mentioned the first point of yours, and just the thought comes to mind. There are no free dinners, and nothing is going to ever be handed to you. But if you care enough, find ways, whether it's by hooks or by crooks, right?
Yes.
But
yes.
Of course, you have to be that maneuverability is required, right? Agility, a little bit of diplomacy, give and take,
yes.
as you were talking about.
Yes.
And these are the skills to be learned, and these are the skills to be learned. And I think not so long ago, I was listening to Tony Robbins' little seminar, which he was doing with the executives from Silicon Valley, right? And he asked a question: how many of you have failed before due to the lack of resources, right? Because often this comes down to that, hey, I don't have the resources, whether though be it good network, though be it money. And almost 90% of the room put their hands up. And now these are seasoned execs, right? And I believe the next sentence, right, what Tony Robbins says, and I preach that, and I actually try to practice it with myself as well. He said, I don't believe any of you failed due to the lack of resources. I believe you failed due to the lack of resourcefulness, right? So being able to see around us, being able to see around us and see how I can make the most out of what I have is what the message that you were given. If I got it correctly. Is that the last message? And then
Yes.
look after your mental diet as well, right? So be resourceful
Yes.
and
Absolutely.
be resourceful in every
And this
capacity.
is something that a lot of people underestimate or don't even think about it consciously,
Yes.
because you have to make a conscious effort to change your surroundings. You have to say no to a lot of people, a lot of gatherings, a lot of events, because if you say yes to every other thing, you won't be able to get what you really need to consume.
Yes.
You know. So
you have been phenomenal, Maham. Thank you so much for joining us. And I wish you abundance and abundance of success. I wish you that for future, and you're going to do great things, and you're going to touch and impact a lot of lives.
Inshallah.
And I'm looking forward to be a part of
Thank
that
you
journey
so
in
much.
whatever capacity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Maham.